Of all the technical coaching I've come up with over the years, this video will encompass one that I am probably the most proud of. Many coaches have said that a majority of lifts are missed from the floor to the knee or the setup and the first pull, and here's why I believe that statement to be true. If we look at a lift like the snatch, we have three main things that we need to be working for us. We need to be pushing through the full foot, and that really just means that we're using the entirety of the leg, both the anterior and posterior chain, and we need to be lifting with a flat and neutral back. And when we start, our hip crease has to either be in line or maybe even slightly below the knee. Accomplishing these points of performance in the squat or similar points of performance isn't very difficult because we start from a standing posture. And similarly with a low hang snatch, even though the low hang snatch is just a few inches less range of motion, the setup and the pull in the snatch from the floor throws many athletes from beginner to advanced for a loop. The snatch requires us to be efficient in one of the most inefficient start positions, with the hands wide and the body compressed. And this is why a majority of lifters miss their lifts from the instant they go and set up and pull on the bar. All right, so let's just look at this system, and I can try to describe it as best I can. We want to take it one step at a time, but the main thing here, I want you guys to watch one of my full lifts. This is the entirety of the system, and I'm going to break this down for you. Okay, and you're going to see every one of my lifts, no matter the weight, is going to look like that. The one thing I want everyone to look at right now is my hip position right as that bar comes off the floor. So the bar is almost a half inch off of the floor, and you'll see my hip crease is directly in line with my knee crease. It might even be a hair below it. Now, the way that I set up and pull, you'll see my hip crease is actually slightly below my knee crease. But as that bar comes off the floor, what we'll notice is there's activation in my quads, there's activation in my hamstrings and my glutes, and this is a very difficult thing to accomplish. This is why this system works. It's because you're active in the full leg, therefore you're putting as much force into the floor as early as possible. This is a very difficult thing for people to accomplish because we need to have a flat back as well. So having a flat back, having your hip crease low, and applying force through the entirety of the leg, that is what this accomplishes. So I'm going to take this step by step, and you're going to see over and over and over again, I do the exact same system. So first things first, when I set up on the bar, when I just grab the bar here in this position, this is nothing. This is the equivalent of me chalking up. I'm just getting my hands on the places where I need my hands. This is not anything important. This right here, though, this position that I get myself into, this is what I'll call the pre-setup. In my opinion, the most underrated aspect of any snatch, okay? And the reason I get myself into this position is to organize my legs. So when I sit in this position, I'm actually on my toes. And when you guys see a different angle, you'll see what I'm talking about. But what I'm doing is I'm purposefully getting in a very compressed position. My hamstrings are touching my calves. My hip crease is very, very low. And I'm on my toes to do this. And what I end up doing is I just wiggle around back and forth to find the position where if I was going to put my heels down, where would it be the most comfortable spot in this very compensated position? And so that's what I do. I just keep kind of hanging out down here, right? Finding where it is, and then boom, this is your setup. One thing, my main mission here is to find what's comfortable in this very compensated position in my legs, but we also have to look at my low back. What I'm able to do here is get in this very low position without my low back rounding, and that is because I am on my toes. There are many lifters, and we're gonna go over not just my lifts, but my good friend Adam's lifts. He snatched 140 and then we worked on this. He PR'd in the middle of a cycle after we worked on this. There are good lifters who cannot get into a start position without a low round back. And so there are certain ways that they compensate and they try to set themselves up so they can unround that back, I just don't believe that it's the most efficient way. So this is what I'm doing. I'm straightening out my back, my low back here, right? So then when I am in my setup here, my low back is straight, my hamstrings are engaged, my glutes are engaged, my quads are engaged, my legs are ready to go here. All I did was put my heels on the ground. So I just put my heels on the ground and put my hips wherever that felt necessary. My hips are still in a pretty low position, and if you look at my torso here, it's like very compressed against my femurs. Like I said, this is the setup. It's really important to then pay attention to where my eyes go. Straight ahead. There's a desk in front of me, and I'm actually looking directly at it. I'm not looking up, and I'm not looking down. I'm looking straight ahead before I do anything else. Okay, so those are the steps so far. You have your pre-setup, heels go on the floor with a tight low back, and you're looking directly ahead. I'm still very compensated here. My torso is close to my quads. Then I'm going to take a breath in. Okay, there's that. That is incredibly important. What I personally end up doing is rocking everything back. And the reason for this is because look at how far forward I am over the bar. And when I rock myself back, I actually get in line with the bar and my shoulders are still somewhat in front of the bar. Now, one thing you can do here, guys, instead of setting up very far forward, you can be a little bit further back as long as your shoulders don't go behind the bar and you do not lose the activity in your full leg and you don't lose that, your low back needs to be straight here. Okay, so I rock and then we go right into it. Okay, we'll see from a different angle here so we can move on. So this is 90 kilos. Again, this is the pre-setup position. This is so vital to my success. If I do not do this, I do not lift as well. All I'm doing here is organizing all my joints, and then simply I just put my heels on the floor while having an active low back. Active back already. Heels go down, look forward. This is a fantastic pre-setup position for me. This is great because now from here, my back is very slightly rounded and it's gonna be so easy for me to unround. I take that noticeable breath in. You guys have to do that. Lower, pull. Okay, this is a dynamic start. I actually teach all of my lifters to have this dynamic start just because the other variables they also learn, which is this pre-setup active leg. A lot of people want to learn static starting, but what happens is they don't address those points of performance I talked about earlier. And they don't address how vital it is to have an active leg and a flat low back in this very compensated position. And they focus too much on the later stages of the pull, when in reality, when the bar's on the floor, we have to work on the bar to the knee, bar to knee, bar to knee, and it needs to be perfect. So again, this one you can see very blatantly what I do. I'm in this low position. Look, my heels are off the floor. It's noticeable. Everything's compressed. I'm just sitting here relaxing. Now, this is a very comfortable squatting position. This is a very comfortable position for me. From here, as I put my heels down, not much has changed. If we can go back to these two positions. Heels up, heels down. Another thing too is, and I'll look at a guy like Adam White, who's my current training partner. He's the owner of this gym. He's a fantastic lifter. He's on track to total 330 and beyond. And even he, when he goes to set up on the bar, it is very difficult to set up and straighten out your back without performing other issues. A lot of times people straighten out their back, but their hips are up too high. Or they straighten out their back, their hips are too low, and their shoulders get behind the bar. Even with good lifters, this is a completely viable option. Big breath, lower the hips, go. Directly from the front, and now you can really see how I organize my hips. I'm in a very confident position. This is 110 kilos. Again, everything is the same. Every time I set up. Low position. Heels go down. Eyes forward, big breath in. Lift, lower, go. Pre-setup, heels go down, eyes come forward, breath in, lift, lower, pull. This is actually 121 kilos. And then we have 123 kilos, which for this cycle for me is a PR. It's about 271 pounds. Pre-setup, heels down, breath in, lift, lower, go. I was actually really happy about this lift. I just want to show you guys a couple examples here of lifters that I've helped with, and I think these are probably the most successful ones. But I really do try to implement this system with all of my lifters. And Grant just competed yesterday, and he did fantastic. And you can already see from this frame, this thumbnail, that Grant is doing the system that I had in place. So right away, what do we notice? He's in that very compensated position. His hip crease is low. His hamstrings are touching his calves. But what he's doing here is organizing his back. People think he's just chilling here and relaxing. He's basically finding, okay, where do my knees and hips, how does everything fit when I'm in a very low compensated position? Beyond that, how can I straighten out my back and maintain that straightened back as I get up into my setup? So as we see, Grant puts his heels down and he's ready to go. Big breath in. It's the exact same thing. There's one lift. Same thing. Lift number 2. And so here we have a PR at 125. Mind you, he's only 19 years old. 3 for 3 in the snatch. I promise you guys, this will work. It will transfer over to your lifts. And this is a system that I am so confident in, that I'm so confident can work with anyone and will help you in your lifting. We have Adam, 141. You can see right as I switch it back, you'll see his heels go down. Heels go down, breath in, lift, lower, pull. Boom, PR. And that's not just any PR, that's 141 kilos. Oh, we're gonna do some cleans, same thing, lift, lower, boom. 171, this is a PR training total for him, 312 kilo total. And honest to God, for those of you that don't snatch, don't clean and jerk, look at what he did in the deadlift. Lift, lower, pull, 250 for a 20 kilo PR deadlift. So anyways, that's that video. And I really hope this one stands the test of time, because I'm going to be sending it to my lifters, my future lifters, so they can watch this, study this, and do it themselves and implement it themselves. For those of you guys that are watching, if you like these videos, if you like these technical videos, please check out my Patreon, patreon.com/Zach Tellender. There is a very specific program dedicated to this video. It is a pull specific program, and this is one of those things that you can launch your new technique, your new pulling technique into other programs that I have on my Patreon. It's just $1, maybe more if you're generous, per month. Please help me out. And I'll continue to make these videos for you guys. Thank you so much.